Hello, my name is Laura Yautz, and I'm a registered dietitian practicing in the Pittsburgh area. I have over 10 years experience in the field, with my practice ranging from long-term care, weight loss, general good nutrition, public speaking, health coaching, and individual and group instruction to staff training and quality improvement. I'm excited to share some information and tips with you today about good nutrition and keeping yourself healthy. I'd like to take a moment to congratulate you on taking this important step towards a healthier, happier you. Making changes isn't easy, but you've made it a priority today to move forward. By the end of today's presentation, I hope you will have learned what healthy eating is, worked through some challenges to healthy eating, and that you'll have some strategies to be able to start making changes for better health today. To help us achieve those goals, we'll first think about making a change. We'll then answer the question, what is good nutrition? We'll review some special dietary considerations, learn some good strategies for eating well on a budget, and we'll end with a healthy cooking demonstration. I'd like to start by posing a question. What makes healthy eating difficult for you? It may seem like a strange question for me to ask, but one of the first steps to making any change is identifying what's been getting in your way or will get in your way. The more barriers you can identify and solve ahead of time, the more successful you're likely to be. Did your barriers include some of these? These are some of the most common barriers, although far from exhaustive. Throughout our time today, I hope to help you work out some realistic solutions to some of these barriers. I also invite you to brainstorm some of your own as we move through the material. On the other hand, it's important to know your reasons for making a change. These should ideally be your reasons and not someone else's. Not because your doctor told you to or because your spouse wants you to. Those can be important reasons to get started, but they're not going to be what's going to keep you going long term. What makes healthy eating important to you? What will you gain as a result of eating healthy? Again, come up with as many reasons as you can. Once you have your list of pros and cons, you'll be able to clearly see which side carries more weight. Not everyone is ready to take the next step, and that's okay. You must be ready to change before change can happen. If you decide you're not ready, this video can serve as good information for you to consider when you are ready. And if you decide you are ready, I hope this video will point you in the direction of a healthier you. Let's consider these facts. A whopping 70% of all deaths can be attributed to lifestyle. In other words, the way most of us live our lives is killing us. Only 6% of adults do everything they need to be healthy, according to a recent study by the CDC. That means they don't smoke, they exercise regularly, they drink in moderation or not at all, they maintain a healthy weight, and get 7 or more hours of sleep a night. Most people can identify a few of those habits they do, but very few can check them all. Proper nutrition can help prevent chronic diseases. Even if it runs in your family, lifestyle more strongly predicts your risk. That means that having healthy habits can potentially override bad genes. Some chronic diseases can even be reversed. It's true. With good nutrition as a piece of the puzzle, some people can resolve their condition and stop medication with their doctor's approval. And it's never too late to start. Nutrition really impacts so much of how we feel and what we're able to do that it's important to take time to eat right as much as possible. In order to start eating healthy, we must first know what healthy eating is. This graphic was developed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to help the public choose healthy foods. It's a nice visual representation of a meal to help you understand how much of your plate should be devoted to certain food groups. And while not all of your meals will look just like this, it's a nice rule of thumb, and it's easy to remember. The food guide pyramid is out and MyPlate is in. Let's take a look at each of these groups in more detail. I'll highlight general recommendations and ranges. However, for individual needs, you can visit choosemyplate.gov. There you will find some helpful resources, information, trackers, and recipes to help you know and meet all of your health needs every day. First is the grains group. This group has gotten a bad rap over the years, and it's a little unjustified. When it comes to grains, it's all about the type. It's true that highly refined and processed grains can contribute to poor health. We should absolutely eat fewer of those. However, whole grains are loaded with vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, and fiber. That's important because 95% of us fall short of our fiber recommendations every day, probably contributing to the growing incidence of colon cancers we're seeing. Grains should comprise about a quarter of your plate, and ideally should be a whole grain. Grains include bread, cereal, rice, pasta, oatmeal, quinoa, and popcorn, to name a few. Shoot for about 5 to 8 servings per day. A serving is a half cup of cooked cereal, rice, or pasta, 1 cup of cold cereal, or 1 slice of bread. Look for the words 100% whole on the label to be sure it's a whole grain. Don't be fooled by phrases like made with wheat, made with whole grain, or multigrain. Those words don't make it a whole grain. Look at the ingredients. A whole grain should be the first ingredient. Notice these 2 ingredient lists. They both come from wheat bread, which sounds very healthy. The top label comes from 100% whole wheat bread. See that whole wheat flour is the first ingredient. The bottom label is from bread that is made with whole wheat. See how far down the list whole wheat flour falls? Enriched wheat flour is the first ingredient. Enriched wheat flour has been processed to make it last longer. But that processing strips out much of the nutrition, so it is added back by a process called enrichment. Enriched flour products are generally less healthy than whole grain products. Next is the fruit group. Fruit should make up just under a quarter of your plate, totaling about 1.5 to 2 cups daily. Fruit is loaded with vitamins, minerals, fiber, and antioxidants. Each color group is associated with specific antioxidants, cancer-fighting compounds. So aim for a variety of colors throughout the week. That's where the advice to eat the rainbow comes from. Choose fresh, frozen, and dried fruit to reach your target. Steer clear of frozen or dried fruits, though, with added sugar, and limit fruit juice to no more than about 1/2 cup per day. Fruit juice is a source of concentrated sugar. And even though it's natural sugar with vitamins and minerals, it's still missing the fiber. That means the sugar hits your bloodstream quickly and leaves just as quickly, leaving you feeling tired and hungry afterwards. Whole fruit, on the other hand, digests more slowly and keeps you feeling satisfied longer. Great for weight management and overall health. Vegetables should make up just over a quarter of your plate. That makes half of your plate produce. Most people fall short in the vegetable group, so it's a good place to start making healthier changes. Aim for 2 to 3 cups every day, and as with the fruit group, eat a variety of colors of vegetables during the week. All vegetables count, but limit vegetables that are deep fried or that are cooked with added fat or salt. Rinse canned vegetables before cooking to reduce some of their salt content, and read the labels on vegetable juice. Sometimes they contain added sugars or salt too. Protein foods should take just under a quarter of your plate, far less than what most people think. Just 5 to 6 ounces per day is all most people need. Work toward a variety of plant and animal proteins and choose the leanest cuts available that you can afford. Choose more dry beans and lentils, nuts and seeds, soy-based meat substitutes, and chicken and seafood. Limit beef and fatty cuts of pork, deep-fried protein foods, and processed meats like bacon, sausage, ham, and deli meats. Most people eat far more protein than they need, so it's a good group to target for reduction, especially since it's often the most expensive per serving. Dairy is included on the side of the plate. 3 cups per day is the recommendation to get all the calcium and vitamin D you need. The dairy group includes low-fat or fat-free milk, yogurt, and cheese, and calcium-fortified soy milk. Other non-dairy plant milks are not included because they don't have the same amount of protein and other nutrients as milk and soy milk. Also not included are milk products that don't retain their calcium content and are otherwise high in saturated fat and sugar, like ice cream, cream cheese, and butter. Try to limit whole and reduced fat dairy products. The saturated fat in them has been linked to heart disease, which is the #1 killer of Americans. Also limit yogurt and flavored milks with added sugar. Oils are not technically a food group, but they contain necessary nutrients, so are included as part of a healthy eating pattern. It's best to get most of your oils as part of the foods you eat rather than drizzling oils over foods. Foods like nuts, seeds, avocados, and fish are parts of other food groups that are high in healthy oils. These oils, however, are liquid at room temperature, and they're all plant oils. Olive, canola, peanut, and sunflower oils are all examples. Fats that are not oils are butter, vegetable shortening, margarine, and trans fat, coconut oil, and hydrogenated oils. The USDA has also identified nutrients that should be limited. Not only do these contribute very little or nothing needed for human health, they are known contributors to chronic diseases. Salt, added sugars of all kinds, and solid fats should all be limited. Trans fats should be avoided altogether. Trans fat is an oil that has been chemically modified to be solid. You can identify foods that have trans fat by looking in the ingredient list for partially hydrogenated or hydrogenated oils. These are more harmful to health than any other type of fat and are not necessary for life. The foods listed here are just some examples of foods that fit the criteria to limit. This handy reference can help you visualize what appropriate portion sizes look like. The palm of your hand is about 3 ounces, which is an appropriate portion size for animal protein. 1/2 cup is a portion size of pasta, fruit, or vegetables, and that's about the size of your clenched fist. A 1 ounce or 1/4 cup portion of nuts or seeds is about a handful. A good roll of thumb for peanut butter and cheese is the tip of your thumb. And lastly, the tip of your finger is a good size for butter and other fats. It's about a teaspoon. As you can see, these references are much smaller than what you would get on your plate at a restaurant or even than you probably serve in your own kitchen. Part of healthy eating is also eating proper portion sizes, but it can certainly take some time to adjust to them. I recommend slowly decreasing your portion sizes until you reach a size that's right for you. This is especially helpful if you find your portion sizes are a lot bigger than the recommended. When you're trying to eat healthy, it's also necessary to read labels. There's a lot of information packed onto those packages. Let's take a look at the back panel. These labels are mandated to be on food packages, and the items you see listed here are required to be on each one. You may see other nutrients listed in addition at the discretion of the manufacturer. First, start with the section in green. This is the serving information. It tells you how big the serving size is and how many servings are in that package. This is important because it tells you how much of that food contains all of the other nutrients listed. On this label for macaroni and cheese, the serving size is 1 cup, and there are 2 servings in the container. So if you ate the whole container, you would have eaten 2 cups, and you would need to multiply all the nutrients by 2. It's important to note that the serving size on packages and the portion sizes recommended by Choose MyPlate are not always the same. Next is the calorie information. A calorie is just a measure of how much energy you'll get from that food. Constantly eating too many calories leads to weight gain over time. Most people eat too many calories most of the time. Calories come from 4 places: fat, carbohydrates, protein, and alcohol. The most important part is the first number, the total calories. That's the total amount of calories in a single serving of that food. In this case, 1 serving of macaroni and cheese has 250 calories. If you ate that whole package, you would have eaten 500 calories, or 250 calories times 2. The calories from fat can help you identify how much of that food is fat. This is not the total fat grams, but calories. In this case, the macaroni and cheese has 110 calories from fat, which is almost half the total calories. This may be useful if you're trying to eat less fat, but you will probably not need to know the calories from fat number on a regular basis. Listed third are the nutrients that most people eat too much of, and so should make efforts to limit. Fat has more calories per gram than any other nutrient, 9 calories. So overeating fat can easily lead to overeating calories. Also, some types of fat contribute to high cholesterol and heart disease. These types of fat are listed under the total fat, saturated and trans fats. Very small amounts of saturated fat are needed for health, but most people eat far too much, increasing the risk for diseases of the heart. Trans fat is not needed for health and is, in fact, quite destructive to our health. It is strongly recommended to avoid all sources of man-made trans fats or hydrogenated oils. Some naturally occurring trans fat have been identified in meat, but these don't seem to be as problematic in moderation. Check the ingredient label for these, as it is lawful to list trans fat as 0 grams if the food has 1/2 gram or less per serving. Cholesterol has been a source of passionate debate in recent years. Experts question whether cholesterol has as much of a negative impact on our health as once thought. While the debate rages on, the bottom line is this: cholesterol should generally be limited because most foods that are high in cholesterol are also high in other nutrients that should be limited, like saturated fat. Not all people are sensitive to cholesterol, so some people may be able to eat more of it without detrimental effects. So you should check with your doctor about your particular situation. Cholesterol comes only from animal products, and it's not something that you need to eat for your health. Your body can use the foods that you eat to make all the cholesterol you need. While the USDA recently lifted its recommended limit on cholesterol, all of the recommended food patterns have less than 300 milligrams of cholesterol per day, so that's a reasonable guideline to use. Most people eat around 3,400 milligrams of sodium or more every day. However, we really should be eating no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium daily. Some people should eat even less. Sodium causes our bodies to hold on to water. When that happens, inside our blood vessels, our blood pressure goes up, which puts us at risk for adverse health events like strokes and heart attacks. Look for sodium in all foods that are already made for you. It adds up fast. Sugars are not listed specifically in nutrients to limit on this label because the amount on the label includes both added and natural sugars. Most foods have some amount of naturally occurring sugar, and this is not detrimental to our health. In fact, it's our main source of energy for our bodies. However, more recent research has linked added sugar, like table sugar and corn syrup, to health problems like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and cavities. Starting in 2017, added sugars and natural sugars will be separated on the label. But until then, we must make an educated guess about the added sugar content by looking at the ingredients. Look for multiple forms of sugar. The words will usually end in OSE, like sucrose, maltose, and fructose. Fourth are so-called nutrients of concern. These are nutrients that most people don't get enough of. Most are vitamins and minerals, with amounts listed as percentage. The exception is fiber. As I said, about 95% of people fall very short of the fiber recommendation of at least 25 grams per day. Fiber is found only in plant foods, which is why it's so important to eat these foods in their most unprocessed forms possible. Fiber can help reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and certain types of cancer, notably colorectal cancer. The footnote can help you identify how much of certain nutrients you should strive for. Amounts are listed for 2,000 and 2,400 calorie diets, so your individual recommendations may be different. However, it can be a useful on-the-go reference if you forget. Lastly, the percent daily value column, shown here in purple, can help you see at a glance how close you are to the limits and recommendations. Note that the values listed are for a 2,000 calorie diet, so your recommendations may be different. It can help you identify whether the food is particularly high or low in any nutrient, though. Ingredients are also mandated to be on food packages. The ingredients are listed in descending order of weight and can help you identify what the food is mostly composed of. It's a good general rule of thumb to choose foods with fewer ingredients more often. And while being able to pronounce all the ingredients is good, it's not always the best indicator of the food's healthfulness, since many manufacturers use the chemical names for some ingredients like vitamins. The good news about the USDA's dietary guidelines and Choose MyPlate is that they're already healthy eating guidelines designed to prevent disease, so they require only small modifications for most special diets. Please note that these guidelines are only general, and you should talk to your doctor or other health professional for guidelines specific to your situation. Let's start with weight loss diets. When it comes to weight loss, it has to do with total calories. You can use choosemyplate.gov to determine how many calories you should eat daily, and then subtract about 250 to 500, depending on how active you are. Never eat less than 1,200 calories per day without being under the care of a qualified physician. This can put you at risk for malnutrition and unsustainable weight loss. Healthy weight loss is about 1 to 2 pounds per week on average. Once you determine your calorie intake, you can use MyPlate to see a personalized nutrition plan for each food group. If you lose a large amount of weight, you may need to lower your calorie intake as you go. Next, we'll talk about a heart-healthy diet. MyPlate meets most of the basic recommendations for a heart-healthy diet according to the American Heart Association. The association recommends limiting red meat as much as possible and only choosing lean cuts when you do eat it, and consuming fish twice weekly. Sodium should be limited to no more than 1,500 milligrams per day for the most benefit. Saturated fat should be limited to only 5 to 6% of calories, half that of the recommended intake for healthy people. Other guidelines for eating are the same as we discussed with MyPlate. We'll finish with the diabetic diet. A diabetic diet is a heart-healthy diet and most of the time designed for weight loss as well. So you'll see some similarities among them. If you have diabetes, you can eat all of the same foods the rest of the family eats. But it's important to choose the foods with the most nutrition from each food group. That means eating a variety of foods from each group, focusing on whole grains, colorful fruits and vegetables, and low-fat dairy and proteins most of the time. People with diabetes have trouble processing carbohydrates, so you may also need to count your carbohydrates. If you're not sure, ask your doctor about it, and ask about a referral to a certified diabetes educator. This is a professional that can help you manage your diabetes in a way that aligns with your lifestyle. So now that we've talked about what healthy eating is, let's talk a little bit about how to eat healthy. One of the biggest reasons I hear why people think they can't eat healthy is cost. It's true that healthy eating can be expensive. There's no shortage of stores and companies trying to cash in on how trendy healthy eating seems to have become. But the truth is, healthy eating can be as expensive or inexpensive as you make it. I'll show you how to eat healthier even if you're not rich. First, make sure you have a game plan before you go to the store. Plan your meals for the week. Write down everything you want to make. Look for recipes in healthy cookbooks or healthy websites like Choose My Plate or Eating Well if you need them. You may also want to reference store circulars and weekly coupons to get the best deals. Remember though, don't clip a coupon for something you wouldn't otherwise buy. You won't save any money buying something you don't need, even if it is less than full price. It also helps to plan meals with foods that are lower cost. Meats are typically more expensive per serving than just about anything else at the store. Choosing a recipe or two with beans as the protein drastically cuts food costs, especially if you buy them dry and cook them yourself. Examples are black beans, chickpeas, and lentils. Fresh fruits and vegetables are great when they're in season, but when they're out of season, they're pricey and often lower in both nutrition and taste. Frozen vegetables are a good substitute. They're harvested at the peak of ripeness and flash frozen, which preserves much of the nutritional value. Read the ingredients to avoid added fats, sodium, or sugar. You can easily add your own seasonings if you need. Now take an inventory of what ingredients you have on hand. Using ingredients you already have will help save you a lot of money. Now you're ready to create a shopping list. Write down all the ingredients you need and organize your list by section in the store. That will make your shopping trip less stressful. After you have your list together, it's time to go to the store. Make sure to eat before you go, so you're not shopping on an empty stomach. You'll be far more likely to purchase things you don't need if you're hungry. Highest cost items are usually placed at eye level to encourage you to buy them. Look at the upper and lower shelves for lower cost alternatives of the same items. Generic brands are often just as good as name brands without the overhead cost of advertisement, so they're much cheaper. When you do find something on sale at a good price, stock up. Then you won't have to buy it at a regular price for a long time. As you're shopping, look for the least prepared foods, or foods in their most whole form. These will usually be the lowest cost per serving. There's no need to splurge on organics either. There's no evidence that organic foods are either healthier or safer than their conventional counterparts. Organic foods are considered a personal choice, as your value and budget allows. Ask for a rain check if the sale item you're looking for is out of stock. A rain check will allow you to purchase the item at the sale price when it's back in stock, even if it's not on sale anymore. Don't forget to join the store's loyalty program. There are often special sale prices exclusively for loyalty members, and you may receive special coupons in the mail. And don't be tempted by those impulse buys at the register. Those $1 candy bars add up. Buying in bulk is another way to potentially save money, but it can be difficult to tell if you're actually getting a deal. Stores generally put the unit price on their price tags, which makes it easy to compare prices of differently sized items, if you know where to look. The arrows point to the unit cost of the 2 boxes of rice. The top picture is a 14-ounce box of rice. It costs 17.8 cents per ounce. The second picture is a 28-ounce box of rice. It costs 16.1 cents per ounce. So even though the bigger box's total cost is more, you pay less per ounce for it. So in this case, the better buy is the bigger box. This isn't always the case though, so be sure to always check the unit price to compare. Once you get home from the store, there are a few things to keep in mind to keep food fresher longer and to make eating healthy a little easier. Wash and cut fresh fruits and vegetables you intend to eat that week right away. If you're hungry and carrot sticks are already cut, you'll be far more likely to eat them. Store milk and eggs in the back of the refrigerator. These foods spoil easily, and the back is the coldest part of the refrigerator. Even though there's an egg holder in the door, eggs should never be stored there. Fruit and vegetables should be stored in separate crisper drawers. Vegetables generally require higher humidity than fruit. Refer to your refrigerator's owner's manual for specifics. Know what foods go in the refrigerator and what should stay on the counter. When you store your produce properly, it will prolong the shelf life, meaning that you'll have some extra time to use it, leading to less food waste and less wasted money. These are some common fruits and vegetables and where to store them. Of note, avocados, melons, apples, pears, and tomatoes can be left to ripen fully on the counter and should be refrigerated when they are ripe to prevent spoilage. Last, you'll be cooking the food, of course. Keep frequently used items such as cooking oils and sprays, spatulas, cutting boards, and spices within easy reach. This will save you from having to search for them later. When you're chopping up vegetables for a meal, chop more than you need. Take the extra, place them in a reusable container, and freeze them. Then, the next time you need it, you can skip a step. For your next casserole or stew, try doubling the recipe and freezing the extra. You'll save time and make cooking next week's dinner a snap. Involving the kids is also a great way to control food costs. When kids help in the kitchen, they're far more likely to actually eat the food, which means you're less likely to throw it out. A win-win. Slow cookers are great for eating healthy on a budget. They allow you to buy cheaper cuts of meat and still prepare them in tasteful ways. Slow cookers are also a great way to cook dry beans. Just soak them in water overnight, and in the morning, drain them, put them in the slow cooker, and cover them with water. Let them cook on low all day, and they'll be done by the time you get home from work. If you cook a large amount, freeze what you don't need in individual portions and just pull them out as you need them. When you're looking for slow cooker recipes, look for ones without much oil added, and steer clear of those that include cream of anything soup or cheese sauce. When it comes to healthy eating, it's important to talk about food safety. It's easy for disease-causing bacteria to spread around the kitchen. In fact, every year about 1 out of every 6 people get sick with a foodborne illness, and many are hospitalized. These simple tips can help minimize your risk. First, wash everything. Wash your hands in warm water with soap for at least 20 seconds. Use hot soapy water to wash all utensils, cutting boards, dishes, and countertops after preparing each item, before preparing another. Wash fresh fruits and vegetables under running tap water before using them, even those with skins you intend to remove. Make sure to keep books, backpacks, purses, and shopping bags off of counters and tables where food will be prepared and served. Keep raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs separate from other foods in your grocery bags and refrigerator. Use one cutting board for fresh produce and a separate one for raw meat, poultry, and seafood. Never place cooked food on a plate that previously held raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs. Also, discard sauces and marinades that were used for raw meat. Never use them to baste cooking food or drizzle over the completed dish. Use a food thermometer to measure the internal temperature of cooked meat, poultry, and egg dishes to make sure that the food is cooked to a safe internal temperature. A reference has been provided with this video on proper cooking temperatures. Refrigerator freeze meat, poultry, eggs, and other perishables as soon as you get them home from the store. Never let raw meat, poultry, eggs, cooked food, or cut fresh fruits or vegetables sit at room temperature more than 2 hours before putting them in the refrigerator or freezer. Never defrost food at room temperature, and always marinate food in the refrigerator. Divide large amounts of leftovers into shallow containers for quicker cooling in the refrigerator. For reference, these are safe cooking temperatures for potentially hazardous foods. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and that I've inspired you to start making some healthier choices today. If you have any questions or comments about anything you heard, please let me know. And remember, better health is just a choice away.